What's up, y'all? Dave Bloom here. Was on the Dynamic WordPress group and saw this post by Michael Edwin showing that a few different people had taken a crack at building a part of the Dreamhost site right here. And the bridge builders took a crack at it, and Bob, the web builder, took a crack at it. I watched both in pieces, and I just noticed some of the same kind of page buildery complexity in both of these attempts. I found that the developers, the designers operating the controls were jumping around to a bunch of different like forms and inputs, and this is kind of par for the course with page builders. So I thought, well, I'm a guy who actually likes to write in code, but likes to write with like utility classes and declarative HTML and move quickly, not be jumping around to a bunch of different like tabs and drop downs and color pickers and stuff, and just likes to kind of author components with HTML. So in this video, I'm going to use Aviator to do that. I'm going to try and move as quickly as I can. The point of this video is not to explain every little thing that I'm doing, but just to show you how like freely I can work within an editor that looks like this, where what I type in over here just gets output over here. And we're going to create this. So let's get started. Actually, I have a page that I'm just already editing with Aviator here. If I actually delete this, it'll just be a blank page. And so we're going to build this guy, this like, headline and text, and then this image pair with a little overlap of the thing below it and a little maybe transform so that these overlap, and it'll all look nice and responsive and good. So here we go. I'm going to add a blank node, and that allows me to type stuff in here that shows up in here. In fact, I might just ditch this for now. I'm going to start with an outer, and that's going to throw a couple of containers under the page that have styles within them written in this utility class syntax, which actually looks a whole lot like CSS. This is giving it display flex, this is giving it this flex direction column, and so forth. I'm going to put an item in, a flex column item that's going to hold our what I call the core. So if I say like core biggest, it actually will just pop out these two guys. And a couple of these are like type classes from the framework, but in general, they can all be like canceled out and adjusted. And I'm going to just label this as the core. And I'm going to make another item, and that's going to be where my images reside. Images. I'll put a couple of placeholders in there for now. Placeholder ×2 and hit tab. So I got a couple of images. So I know that my container for both of these items, this item and this item, are both sitting inside of their parent, which is called a subsection. And I can actually add a helpful little inspector class, BC, that borders the children, so I can see that. And now I know that like on large screens and up, I want this to flex row, not column. So I'm just going to change the flex direction. I don't have to go find this in some wacky panel. I just type it out like a sentence. In fact, I'm going to say large flex direction row, so that on smaller screens, we're still going to get this. Okay. Let's add a little bit of a gap, maybe, like, I don't know, 3 rem. You'll see that the properties and the values are just separated by a colon here. Makes it really kind of simple, almost like an inline style, but without the semicolons and with the modifier potential. And we can just get rid of this guy. And now I want to darken this because this is a dark area. So I can just add scheme darkest and change this up to contrast highest. Okay, there we go. So now we got something like this, and we're moving. So now we want to adjust the sizes of these. But before we do that, I think we might just add another blank node, maybe a banner like 10XL size and centered. So we just get something like this, and that way I can actually start to make this other element that will go below it, over which the image will lap. So let's do scheme darkest on this and scheme lightest on its child, then I can move the padding from the parent to the child, and maybe give it a border radius, and then I can adjust the padding on the top one from going Y, which is like top and bottom, to just top by hitting the T. And now we're starting to get closer and closer. So while we do that, let's add some classes to our placeholder elements to give them some width. So the top one, I'm probably going to want that to be like width 50%, and the bottom one can stay full. I'm probably going to want to align this one over to the right side, so I just say align items end. And then I want to maybe use some transforms to make sure that these two guys overlap and these two guys overlap, but I like to pull upwards, so I think I'm going to just say class transform translate. And I'm going to have to move this over and up. So I'll do a translate. And we'll say the X translate will be, say, like 10% or negative 10%. And the other one will be, say, like -2 rems or something like that. So we get something like this. Let's just make sure the relationship between these is pretty similar to what we got there. Yeah, it's negligible. Maybe this top one has a little bit of a larger width, but that's pretty good. And now we want to pull this bottom guy up with a margin top of, let's say, negative, 5 rems or something like that. And we probably want to make sure that, yeah, that overlaps fine. I'm pretty comfortable with this. I might want to add a little bit of a gap here, but I know that on larger screens, like this kind of overlaps that. This kind of like sneaks its way over there, but for right now, I think we're good. Let's go back, see how we're doing on larger screens. Probably should add our content in. So let's just copy and hit Command D to select the text within the tags, hit paste, and go back here. Can't say I love this copy, but I will live with it. Maybe this one goes medium. And so we can see there's already a little bit of like button heads. We could add more to the gap if we just like BC these guys and kind of nudge this upward a bit. Maybe we text wrap balance on these guys, TWB tab, TWB tab. So just to give some breathing room, and yeah, that's already looking pretty good. On small screens, we have a little bit of a nightmare, but if you remember, we were hiding the images on the small screen, so I can very easily just say display none and large : display flex, so that we just get this. Now we're going to have to adjust our margin there in a sec, but I'll do the responsiveness in a sec. So we have a rather large gap there. I think I'm going to maybe pull this a little bit down to bigger instead of biggest. And I kind of like the balance here. I don't know. This feels like a little bit too much space. And this balance feels a little bit better to me, but I definitely could add padding to the top part or futz with this a little bit more. But I think I'm pretty happy with this. Maybe we make it even large. And we also want to make sure we get that nice little accent on unique. So if I did something like this, check this out. Let's say I wanted to work with global CSS, and I said accent color is teal. Then I could just go in here and hit Command Shift comma, emphasize that with a class, then we say color, and then we use our custom property of accent color. So there that is. I'm not sure that that's bright enough for me. Maybe like sky blue would be better. So that works. And we also want to just throw our images in there. So let's do that. Let's add a new image field. This is how images work in Aviator. So like you could just put the image code in here. here's the first image. The smaller one, smaller like green joint over here. And the second image is here. And so Aviator takes an approach to imagery where like what you're doing is you go fetch the image attributes, like the source, the width and height, the alt text, the source set, the lazy loading, all of that stuff that would otherwise add a whole bunch of gunk to your HTML. And you can kind of partition them off. This is where the dynamic data really shines, like into these things called fields, which are kind of like, you can think of them as like advanced custom fields, but per node, like per section instead of site wide. So you're just kind of like making another editor that can be like kind of hydrated in here. And I'll show you how this works. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, go grab an image, and we're going to call it first image ats, and it's going to grab attributes. We're going to upload that image or go pick it from the library. There it is. Got the alt text in there, all good. Then all you have to do is copy this, and punch it right in here. Nope, not that. We have to punch it into an image tag. There we go. So what's actually happening is that like this image is being fetched. It's grabbing this stuff, like the source and all of this crap. And then it's just replacing this double curly braced tag with that. So if I change the image, then I will be able to just not have to update anything. So if I change it to like this blue thing and I just use that instead, everything would just update. Okay, so let's go back. Let's use that green one, and we're going to do the purple one next. Thank you. And we'll add a new image field, second image ats, and go grab the purpley one. Copy that. And actually, we can just copy this really. And what is also useful about this is as you make changes to it, there it is. Like you can, let me hit Command S to clean all this up. Because you have your image tag at your disposal, you can add classes to that. So I want to add border radius to these images because they're slightly rounded. So I'm going to just be able to do that by putting my cursor in here, hitting Command to multi-cursor, and just saying border radius 1 rem. Now I can slightly see the placeholder background behind them, so I might just switch these back to divs. Okay. I'm pretty sure that I've gotten farther than any man has gotten. Well, in a few minutes, we have a pretty good system going on. Let's fix this stuff. So we're just going to say, all right, we pulled this section up with a negative margin, but let's only do that on large screens. I kind of like the space there. Like it's closer. This is closer to this than it is to its preceding sibling. And maybe I would do something fancy like align this to the center on smaller screens and then align it to the right when we have this thing going on. So maybe I would say we will align items center, text align center, and then actually we can probably just keep it at start. It's going to be fine. And then we say large text align left, so that when we we want that definitely. Center large align items start. So we have centered to text up until we get to large, and then it goes that way. And so like having to go to a form field or like a page builder thing and negotiate all of this on a specific element, it just seems like a lot of work instead of just writing the sentence of the design. Go figure. I don't know. This might be too fast. It might be too complicated for people, but I think it's going pretty well. I'm going to delete some of the white space in here just to kind of tidy everything up and show you how few lines of code. Actually, I'm going to leave a couple of spaces because I like that to be like little spacies. And D. So we're under 30 lines of code here. And in our main editor, we do have some more code technically in these images, but big picture, like this is done. And if I save and publish it and go view it, pretty happy with the result here. I might have to make some tweaks. Maybe this needs to go bigger and we need to do some other stuff there. But I feel like this approach to building is particularly useful because this is just HTML. So I can make a new page, copy this all in, not have to copy like configuration or clone a post or whatever. I can just take little pieces of this and use it anywhere else in the project and even other Aviator projects. The portability is what I'm going for here. And when it comes to page building, I'm gonna get a little soapboxy, but like the value that a page builder adds is a combination of the time it saves you, maybe multiplied by how obvious it is to edit things. So if you're looking around, like this might seem like the Matrix to you, but if you're constantly looking around in different drawers and accordions and like tabs and stuff like that for how to edit your site, you're gonna lose your mind. And the people who are doing bridge builders and are making their own page building stuff, like they're gonna be pretty good with it. Like if you see, the creator of a framework using their framework, just like you saw with me here, like I'm gonna be able to move pretty quickly because I just know it. But in this case, like the information is there and there's no fat on this. So there's no like CSS being generated for empty fields or anything like that. You see exactly what you need to see. So if I needed to just go like, put this one over here instead, then I could just align items start and adjust this translation a little bit, to go this way or something like that. Like I can get my hands in this like really quickly. And I think that's really important. And it's why I'm an HTML evangelist. I believe in like keeping the HTML exposed, but just making it better through like CSS or utility class frameworks like Aviator does, and also creating abstractions for it, not replacements for it, but things that allow you to say, extract image attributes, or maybe even extract like a tagline to a place where a no-code editor could edit it. Like if I wanted to add a new text field and say, hosting headline and like blazing fast hosting for any size of business or something like that. And then I can just take this, punch it right in here, and then I could basically through a user role like keep a non-coding administrator from seeing any of this, and they just see this. So it's almost like you're building your own block or you're building your own page builder element where these are the things that they're allowed to change. So you can register any number of things that they can go in and adjust. So if I type business or something like that, like they're able to edit this in a no coding route that like hydrates your code as the developer. So they're not fucking up your design, but they can still play along if you hand off like a build to them. So that's like the business here. I want to show this off, want to let Aviator kind of play along with the big boys. And if you have any questions for me, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to give like personal demos of this if you have more questions about how this works. But otherwise, have a great day.